everyone, and welcome back to the Cat's Whisker. It's been a long time, but I'm back with a great episode that is also featuring a guest. And for the first time, it's actually not Liam. And this guest is very, very special and has an incredible body of work. This is actually my very first interview, so I was very nervous, not only because it was my first interview, but also because this guy is a legend. And this behind me is gonna give you a hint, because I'm talking about the one and only John Kosh, who designed this cover, this one, and many more. I also want to say a big thank you to Jenny Shore, who's Kosh's partner and manager, and I also want to add a great musician. She was in one of the first pop-punk female bands in LA in the 70s and 80s, and so yes, she has an incredible body of work both in music and also in fashion. So as you can imagine, I was very nervous about this interview, so you can hear that I was very nervous. So I hope you'll enjoy it. I did my best. I really wanted to ask more questions, but I was so nervous. But I'm very lucky because these two are great, and Kosh has been just the best guy to talk to. So without further ado, let's play the interview. Hi everyone. Today I'm really happy because I'm here with John Kosh, art director and album cover designer, winner of 3 Grammy Awards. Kosh worked with the Beatles at Apple and designed the covers of both Abbey Road and Let It Be, but not only. Over the years, he worked with The Who, the Eagles, Linda Ronstadt, the Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart, Electric Light Orchestra, and many more. And today I'm lucky enough to be able to interview him. Welcome to the Cat's Whisker.
Oh, good grief. Thank you. That just about says it all. I can go home now.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Good morning for me. Good afternoon for you.
True. Yes. So let's start from the beginning. How did you first discover your passion?
Oh, as an artiste, shall we say?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, my dad wanted me to be an engineer, and it was either, I think when it came to the time, the conscription, I was either go to art school or join the army, and I didn't feel like getting shot at. So
fair enough.
I could draw hands, which not many people can do. Mm-hmm. And that got me into art school, and I learned some skills there. And I never graduated. I left Hornsey College of Art, which was a great place, by the way. Mm-hmm. And became a lowly sort of paste-up artist in the British Printing Corporation. Mm-hmm. But one of our clients was the Royal Opera House. Mm-hmm. And I went on, to get married one sort of cold, dark night, and came back and found we'd all been fired. But I managed to sort of go with the Royal Opera House. Mm-hmm. And to cut a very long story short, the guy who ran the Royal Opera House, he had a partner, Mario Amaya, who ran the Venice Biennale and whatever else, and it was a museum of art in Toronto. And he just let me work on as art director for his magazine. It's a prestigious magazine called Art and Artists. Mm-hmm. And so there I was, and picking up the phone and dealing with all sorts of great artists, the great 60s British art. And of course, one of the people I had to speak to was John Lennon. And I had to go and see him with Yoko in Hammersmith Hospital, of all places. And we got on like, it's like, come on in, have a cup of tea, let's talk. And he liked my design work, and I started working on the War Is Over campaign.
Yeah. Then
I found myself finding a desk, which means literally finding a desk, spare at Apple Records. And on, it's like, oh God, it's Mary Hopkins, it's Billy Preston. There's the Fab Four. So we started working on Let It Be. I think it was called Get Back at that point. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that got interrupted, and we started working on Abbey Road.
Yeah.
Let It Be now retired.
Yeah. It must have been quite chaotic at that point in time.
Well, it was. Yeah. Yes, it was. It was high-powered chaos. Actually, it was a great fun place to work. But it was intense. All those singles and albums that were going out, all of them, sort of flying up and down
so
the chart.
fast. Yeah.
And the Beatles are flying up and down the staircase. You know, it was really quite chaotic and hectic. But you know, we'd start work at like 9, 10 a.m. and we'd still be working at 9, 10 p.m. You know, it was you know, we never missed a deadline despite all the chaos.
Well, that's pretty good, especially
Well, that's the
considering the
you know, that
pressure.
is the mantra, isn't it? You never dare. You come in on budget and you never miss a deadline. You know?
No, exactly. And I believe, well, you were talking about it, that Abbey Road, you mentioned it. Was it your first work as album designer?
Well, yes, I guess published because I was really working on Get Back because we had to do the
No,
Get
exactly.
Back.
Yeah.
If you notice that if you get the package, the album's called Let It Be, but the book is called Get Back because
Yeah.
you 500,000 of them and you can't throw them away, you know.
Must have been
So
nerve-wracking.
yeah, right, precisely. But you know, it's the Fab Four. You mean that's why I never bothered to put there. Well, not bothered. It's a deliberate decision not to put the name of the band on the covers of Abbey Road or Let It Be, because if you didn't know who they were, you had literally been living in a cave.
No, exactly. Exactly. There was no need. Probably one of the few artists that really you don't really need to know. I mean,
No,
yes,
I did
you
it again.
already know.
Yeah, I did it again for the Eagles for Hotel California. So I mean, but now and again,
Yeah.
I think Hey Jude didn't have a title on it either. I don't know. I mean, you know, it just became, yeah, the bigger the artist, the less I was inclined to sort of
No,
mess.
exactly.
Despite my typography, which is normally very elegant.
No, true. And so obviously, I feel like Get Back documentary that just recently came out, it really showed people another side of the late Beatles. Like, many people think that they were always arguing and fighting, but from what we can gather from Get Back, it was a bit different. What do
Well,
you
the
think
original
it was like?
Let It Be movie was, I mean, I went to the premiere of it. I mean, the bottles didn't turn up. But I mean, I didn't finish the film. I mean, I was so depressed and upset about it because that's nowhere near an accurate
Yeah.
portrayal of what was going on. In fact, even though we knew the Beatles were breaking up, everyone was still so enthusiastic and jolly about the whole thing, you know, because it was such a great run that the film did not reflect that, but the new one does, because there was an awful lot of stuff going on in the background, which was very funny and very elevating in some respects. I mean, that's because it gets us to the roof, but you know,
Yeah.
it was a joyous occasion for me to be dealing with the Fabs and also
No,
dealing with
exactly.
the people in there. Everyone was determined to make this, you know, a great album and a great record, and also bouncing off the success of Abbey Road, which, in my humble opinion, was the best of all their Beatles albums.
I mean, it's difficult to argue with that. Honestly.
Yeah, people are going to say Abbey Road, Rubber Soul, you know,
You know, I'm a
Revolt.
fan of the early Beatles. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed with the early Beatles. I love it all, obviously. I moved to Liverpool
Right
from
movies.
Italy.
Yes, the slight Liverpool twang I notice here.
I know, but no one can place my accent. They're always like, you sound like an American with a Scouse accent. Where are you
Yes,
from? No one ever gets Italy.
right.
No one.
Whereabouts are we from?
Milan.
Oh, Milano. Okay, great. The
Yeah.
opera. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The big best
To
in
be
very
fair, I have to be honest here. I was born in Milan. My family comes from Milan, but I grew up in a place with 500 inhabitants in the middle of the countryside. So
okay.
I say Milan, but no one knows where I'm actually from.
Where's
It's
are we in Umbria or where are we?
no,
Where
it's like 30 minutes from Milan, but no one knows about it.
oh, I see. It's not down right down. Okay, okay.
No, it's still very, very close. But even people from Milan don't know where the place I grew up is. And it's literally 30 minutes from there. So obviously, when I moved to Liverpool, big city, it was quite, you know, the change. I'm not gonna
You must
lie.
have a gift of languages because you speak perfect English. It's kind of like
I speak Spanish as well fluently.
oh, you've got
I love
one of the
languages.
oh, okay, right.
But yeah, no. I mean, English obviously is very helpful here. They're not gonna lie.
I think yes, indeed.
And so obviously you worked with many artists, and You obviously worked as well with the Rolling Stones, and I absolutely love the cover of Through the Past Darkly. The photo through the broken glass is just
Right, yeah.
brilliant. How did that come about?
Well, that came out because I think it was Ethan Russell's idea just to smash the glass that we pressed the noses up against, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a great session. It was done in LA. The one thing about the Stones is they're so professional. I mean, people don't expect this, you know.
No,
Everyone turns up on time. Well, Keith doesn't turn up on time, but he's so charming and apologetic that it
you
makes
can
it.
forgive him.
And everyone's sort of straight and sober, you know, and they do their job and they leave. And it's like
Yeah.
their concerts, you know, they get on stage, they don't say very much, they just go say, hello, Los Angeles, and go, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a good experience working with the Stones.
Yeah. They're coming out with a new album soon, I think,
It's
as
out
well.
already, I believe.
Is
I mean,
it? Oh my
well, the
goodness.
single's out. The single's out. That's what it is.
Yes,
I've
yes.
seen the album and I've seen the cover, and I'm not that thrilled with the cover. But
Professional opinion.
I'm sure he'll do his job. I'm sure. Yes.
So I'm curious about what's the work you're the most proud of? What's the closest to your heart?
Well, I think probably Linda Ronstadt and Simple Dreams, because
Yeah.
we're, apart from the fact we're dear pals. I mean,
Mhm.
in fact, I spent the weekend with her 2 weekends ago.
Oh,
Jenny and I. So yeah, I mean, I'm very proud. Somehow or another, well, it won a Grammy, and I was kind of very proud of the way it came together. The photography is absolutely stunning by Jim Shea, and my topography is just right on there. And the way it was first printed, I mean, I spent hours on press with that thing, making sure the colours were absolutely where we wanted. It's
mhm,
been reprinted several times. It's not quite got the edge that it had before, but
mhm.
I think that's possibly the one that I go straight to first of all.
Yeah. But now I have a question. It might sound very, very stupid, because I know nothing about design. I have to come clean about this. Um, so I was wondering, how's the creative process? And especially, I was actually wondering, obviously now a lot of it is computer based, I assume. How
Yes.
was it in the past? And I mean, obviously things changed. How did your job change?
Well, yeah, it was all cut and paste and making huge prints and retouching them with airbrushes, and or coming up and designing things with airbrush, like the Electric Light Orchestra logo, you know, which is it was
Yeah.
an airbrush, color by color, cutting through stencils and color by color. And of course, if it bleeds, you're ruined. You've got to start again. So something which would take 3 or 4 days, well, now you could do in probably an hour on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it gives you more time now to experiment.
Yeah.
You know, you can actually come up with something and this decided first thing in the morning, oh, let's jump. Come on, you can do better.
Yeah.
And so in some respects, it's liberating in some respects, you know, the computer.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you know, the craftsmanship has changed totally. I've no longer got those cuts and scars on my fingers from the scalpel blades and
So you were talking about Linda Ronstadt before, and I mean, of course, you also won 3 Grammy Awards
yeah.
because of your work with her. But I believe you've been nominated for the first time, probably in 1975, for your work with Rod Stewart.
Yeah, I think we got
Um,
a nomination for that, and Melissa Madge. I think I've had 7 nominations. It's
I
I could,
checked.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm curious, how did it feel like being nominated for the first time and then obviously winning later?
Winning is actually amazing. I mean, you must admit, you're standing on the stage. And I got totally tongue-tied for the first time. It's like, well, you know, yeah, it's a huge buzz. You can imagine, you know.
Yeah.
And by the second time, I got it down, you know, because I mean, I knew I was going to win the first time. I just knew it. I had a feeling about it.
Yeah.
You know. Other times, I've just, you know, icing on the cake, as it were. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's great. You know, you're sort of with your peers. I mean, backstage it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I
Musicians,
imagine.
you know, are just sitting there tinkling away, doing things. You know, you're sitting next to Yo Ma, and there's But then those days it was smaller and more intimate. And I think
Yeah.
now it's so big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
Be
is
careful
now.
what I say because I am I am a Grammy member.
Yeah.
I'm not like to be on the board of trustees actually.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't play tennis, so I was out.
And of course, we were talking about Linda Ronstadt. How did you two meet?
I think because I came over to the States and it was very difficult to break into the clique in Los Angeles and trying to dragging your portfolio around.
Yeah.
I was kind of like the new kid in town who worked for the Beatles, and there was kind of slight resentment there, you know. So I thought, well, I won't go to record companies. I'll go to the labels, and not the labels. I'll go to the managers. And of course, one manager I would hit up immediately was Peter Asher, who used to work at
Yeah.
Apple. So I knew him quite well. And he said, well, would you like to meet Linda Ronstadt? And of course, yeah, that's it. And we clicked. And, you know, Prisoner of Disguise came out of that. And then we decided that we should be doing Hasten Down the Wind. Then we decided it. And then it went on from there. From that point on, she trusted me. And, you know, and she would say things like, well, I got to be heavier with this. This is too pretty. I need something stronger. And so Mad Love, where she looks kind of spirity, punky, but also very beautiful at the same time. So I've always managed to make her kind of look as she is, gorgeous, you know.
That's the best way, really, because I assume as an artist, that's, you know, you really want someone that gets you. So I was actually wondering if you listen to the music of the album when you're designing it. How does it
Yes.
work for you?
What I like to do is I like to listen to the music in the studio if possible, so I can hear rough mixes or whatever's coming back out of the booth, you know. And if I can take something away, in the old days, it used to be a cassette. You know, remember those things? Yes.
Yes, my car actually has only a cassette player,
Oh,
and
lovely.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I have a kid in the car, it says, what's that?
Yes.
And I feel
Oh,
old.
that's nice. Yeah, my car had an 8-track. Remember those? No, you're
Ooh.
way too.
I don't remember them, but I've heard about them. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound wasn't too bad actually, because you have two giant speakers on the back seats, you know. So where were we? I got lost.
Oh my goodness, I got lost as well. Oh, about listening to the music
Oh,
when
right.
you're
Yes. And if I can take away music, I certainly will. It's very important because you know you're selling. You know, it's a dirty word, like it's commercial art. You're not supposed to say that. But what you're doing is you're really selling the music, and you're telling people what's in. Wait for this old one, the grooves. So what's in there is got to be portrayed. So you can't sort of do a sort of, you know, a sort of country sort of look on a rock and roll album, or you know.
Sure.
And you've got to let people know. Or you've got to remember that in those days, in the racking days, 15% of your sales were probably impulse sales.
Yeah.
People come in to get their record they want, but then they say, "Oh, look at that! Maybe I'll try that."
Sure.
And 15% is a hell of a lot, which
It is.
explains why the budgets in those days were much, much better than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Hotel California, I think, cost $40,000.
Goodness.
That's a lot more. And not that I walked away with that amount of money, believe me. Wish I had. But when you consider that they would sell 6 million records at the end of the week at $6 a pop, that $40,000 is very little.
Yeah,
nothing.
definitely.
Nowadays, of course, you know, we're downloading and whatever else.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, and record labels seem to, if they don't have a hit off the first album, you're not really going to be picked up again. You know, it's a whole different system now.
Yeah, which is a shame in a way, because I think the fact that people literally had to go out and buy a record to actually own it showed a lot more investment in enjoying music and what music meant to them. Whereas now, when everyone is like, oh, this is the new Beatles, this is the new whatever in terms of sales, but it's something that either you can order it or you can listen to for free. It's a completely different way to enjoy music and shouldn't really compare,
Well, yeah, there's also the tactile quality is kind of gone now.
Oh
You actually
yeah.
you open the gatefold and you read the lyrics and you look at the pictures and maybe there's a poster inside or whatever you do, And I mean, I think the gatefold was invented for a specific reason. Is when you were cleaning your illegal grass in those days, you could actually have the seeds run down the middle and onto your lap, and you can roll your doobie.
I mean, you gotta be resourceful.
Yes, I can say that now in California because it's legal. So I don't know, but
Oh, true. Well, you are in California, so that works.
yeah, right, sure, yeah, but I don't do anything anymore. Believe me, clean as a whistle.
So talking about California, you worked with the Eagles for Hotel California.
Yes.
And is that true that Don Henley is is extremely it's a perfectionist, sometimes even a bit too much?
No comment.
I'm curious that why did it cost so much to produce? Was it
Well,
hard
because
to
in
get
those days
shot?
we were scouting. We had the lighting for the inside. There was all the lighting and all the people who were involved in getting their releases and building that set. In fact, and when we were scouting out, we found 3 locations, which we in those days you would present as last prints. I would have 60, at least 60-inch prints made, 5-foot square prints. Beautiful Chromes retouched to present to the band to choose from, and I mean, it just mounts up, but nowadays you could actually bang this thing out, if you pardon the expression, for probably a couple of grand,
Yeah.
So anyway,
that explains.
It was the retouching alone, sort of
Yeah.
is the sunset bright enough, bang it up a bit more, get the blue light. So there's all that stuff going on, and then there's the experimentation of do we get the right grain structure? And the hand painted Hotel California sign had to make him look like it was real neon. And therefore, that had to, when we photographed that had the same grain structure as the photograph. So I can bore you to tears with all this stuff.
I'm not bored. I'm not. Don't worry. No, and that's actually quite interesting. And because, as I was saying, I know nothing about design. So obviously, it's so beautiful to see how much work there is behind something that obviously you see it in 1 second, and you have absolutely no idea how long it took to actually do that. And I had another question. I watched the Who a couple of months ago. They were playing near me.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Honestly, I absolutely love them. And obviously, you worked with them for Who's Next. Right. So could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the Who?
Do you know how I got involved? I think it's because Ethan Russell was the photographer, because he was working around town in London, and I got invited. What happened was that I wasn't actually at the photo session. I was on my way to Mooney's house, which is a totally different story, anticipating his arrival. And so the picture was totally serendipitous. But the rumors that you hear about Roger Daltrey's pee wasn't really pee, it was a cup of water, is true.
Okay. Because with the Who, you never really know, I guess.
and the fact that the sky was so grey that we had to strip a new sky in, which I did, but did so badly. You can see it now. It looks like I did it with a toothbrush. But somehow it turned into an icon, because it was obvious, Who's Next was the title, and there was these string of pictures, and it was there it was. I mean, Pete Townsend apparently hates it.
I didn't know that.
Despite the fact it's now on the new box.
No, exactly. Like, they keep advertising it. Like, every day I see a new advert on Instagram.
He actually quoted as saying he thinks the cover's a piece of shit. So I love to tell everybody that, because I think only because it turned into such an icon, You don't know that anything's going to be an icon when you're doing it. You're just trying to pay the rent.
No, of course. And obviously, one of the things that became, I guess, one of the most iconic events in music history was the rooftop concert. Did
Yeah.
you know when obviously things started, like when they decided to go up on the roof and when they actually played, did you feel like, because you were there,
Right.
did you feel like it was going to be a very topical moment? How was it?
We knew, I think, that, but didn't want to believe that it was going to be their last performance,
Mm-hmm.
live or not. So yeah, there was definitely a vibe going on up on the roof, because people are climbing across the roof from other buildings, and it was freezing up there too. It was not exactly comfortable. I wasn't dressed for the occasion, because I was popped up to deliver a message to my mate Kevin Harrington, who's the guy who was holding the lyrics up to John, because he was the head roadie, and I stayed and was behind the chimney pots, as you can see, because one's not supposed to get on camera. But yeah, I realized actually when it was all over, that was a momentous moment, And then I saw the movie and was very disappointed. But now I've seen it again. The whole thing has changed totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that at least now they managed to.
Well, they put the record straight, in my opinion.
No, I mean, hearing it from someone that was actually there is so meaningful, because obviously, as a fan, you always want to believe that everything is, oh, they're all friends, everything is fine. But obviously, hearing it from someone that was there, that is not like romanticized only because I want it to be romanticized in a way. It's good. I really appreciate it as well.
Yeah, well, the whole thing about working at Apple, was, as we said earlier, was kind of elevated to a point where you're working for the biggest and best band in the world. And of
Yeah.
course, the guys at the band themselves are really nice people. I mean, that's the good point about it,
Mhm.
Maybe sort of having those sort of differences behind the curtain, as it were. But when you're actually talking to any one of them at any one point, they show respect. And of course, they're very funny. John
Yeah.
has a perfect sort of wit, which you've got to get round. I mean, some people, took offense at it, but sometimes it was just like hilarious. Ringo is very funny.
Mhm.
George always used to call me Johnny.
Aw.
But Johnny or Johnny.
Did you have any nicknames for them?
Yes. Paul was Paulie. Ringo was Richie, which is his real name.
Yeah.
John was Lenny, and George was Georgie.
Aw.
Not always to their faces, I might add.
And
Yoko.
well, how was working with Yoko Ono? Because obviously you worked a lot with her as well.
Well, yeah, because I did their wedding album and
Sure.
whatever. Yeah, she was great. I mean, yeah. I mean, we met as I said, in the Hampstead, no, not Hampstead, where was it? Hammersmith hospital, where she was, in dead trouble again from, trying not to, have another baby. What was going wrong? I mean, something was going wrong. But anyway, she liked my work, and I walked in there. When I walked in there, and I had drawn my hand. I'm illustrating this bit round on a piece of paper. I just drew an outline of my hand and cut a hole in the middle, and then walked in and looked through the hole at her. And she thought that was hilarious, and we got on fine from that point on.
Well,
Because I like the conceptual art, I mean, sort of climb up a ladder and a very tiny thing says "You are here."
yeah, yeah.
Paint
And
with blood until you faint.
I'm curious about something though, because we talked about obviously the people you worked with, and you worked with many artists. But is there anyone you would have wanted to work with, but you've never had the opportunity?
Yes, Elvis.
Ooh. Well, that's
Or
a big
Roy.
one.
Or Roy. Or
Whoa.
I got to work with Dylan, which was one on my list. Yeah, but that was interesting, I must admit.
Yeah, how was it?
It was fine. I mean, I did his title sequence for his movie Ronaldo and Clara, which I think when it was cut down to 3 hours, I still had to watch it 4 times.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, it's fine. He was great, actually. We had a sort of, I had a problem with my projector, and I blew a bulb when I was showing his stuff. And then we put a new bulb in, and that blew, and I ran out of spares. So we ended up hands and knees, gathered around a light box with a loupe looking at my work. But he took it quite well. I was quite surprised. I thought he'd be irritable, but no, he was all right. He was fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite artist? Of like, considering obviously you worked with so many, and I assume you actually admire many of them.
Oh,
But
yeah,
if you had to pick one, I assume it's very hard to pick.
one other, as opposed to Linda, I guess. I mean, it was James Taylor was great to work with. Oh God, you throw that question at me. People I don't like working with, I'm not going to mention those.
I was gonna ask that, but it's a sticky one.
James, working with Randy Newman, I guess I can't answer that question really, because they're all different,
No, of course. And you worked with Carole King as well.
Yeah, she was great. She was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she just, because of that massive great hair and all this sort of stuff, and just getting it, I mean, one thing I liked about James is we could do anything with him. He wanted, we've got it in JT, when you pull out the sleeve, it's a perfect square.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to get that, we had to cram it into a plexiglass, a perspex box. Getting him out was difficult. He couldn't walk for a half.
I bet. Yeah.
But he did it. He did it. And then he come in with a crazy concept. I want to make sparks, and so we did. Dad Loves His Work. And he let me do that, and he let me do Flag, which is nothing more than sort of a horizontal, diagonal, pink and yellow, originally silk screened in fluorescent inks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some artists are easy to work with, and some are not. Just some know what they want, some don't. Don't. Some care and some don't care. It's really weird.
Yeah. Do you get much input from them? Does it happen often that is the artist that actually has already a clear idea of what they want? Or
well, sometimes, I mean, I do want their input as much as possible. Yeah.
Well, you're representing their work.
Something I hate, yeah, I mean, I like to find out what they're feeling, and it might just be very loose, like, it might be, I want to be really heavy and strong and punky on this, or I just want to back off a bit, or I just want to put my head, which is like, this sort of happens, you sort of get a set ready and everything's going and everything's fine, and a person unknown will come in and say, I don't want to do it anymore.
Sure.
Then you've got to go back to Warner Brothers and say, I just spent 30 grand of your money when fire marshal.
Oops. I found it really interesting as well, how I've seen how you developed, obviously not everything, but I've seen how you developed the logo for the Electric Light Orchestra. It's quite a mouthful. That is very interesting. Did you get input from them, or did you just think about it?
No, I decided that, because I was going to do a New World Record, that they needed a logo. I hadn't got one, and so it's a combination of one of my dad's jukeboxes, which is the top, and the Electric Light Orchestra logo itself is really General Electric's logo, sort of messed with. So it said a lot to me that this is electricity and this is music and whatever else. No, I had no input whatsoever, and they're still using it too. You might notice. It's everywhere. They changed it a little bit because they're not quite sure who owns the copyright. Like, is it me? They changed it enough that I can't sue them.
See, how does that work? How does it work when you design something? Do you own a part of it? I have absolutely no idea how that works.
You sign your life away in perpetuity, but I've never signed anything, so it's a grey area in some respects. I mean, photographers come, normally can retain right there, unless they sign it away. But there's this sort of strange grey area where, I mean, put it this way: if I got half a penny on Abbey Road, we'd be talking from my yacht.
No, definitely.
However,
Fair
when I
enough.
was in Hollywood, so I'm happy.
Well, I have one last question for you.
Hmm.
Um, who's your favorite Beatle?
Oh, it's so difficult, but it's obvious because it's John Lennon.
Yeah.
Because I worked so closely with him and I understood him, and he more or less just liked my style and never interfered with anything. And he and I'll give you a little anecdote if we've got time.
I do,
Uh,
yeah.
Good. The John Lennon diary. Okay. John and I had to kneel on the floor. And he had to write 365 entries on this huge sheet of paper, which of course gets folded and cut and turns into the diary. So you can imagine by the time we're into September, his hand is cramping, and he's on his knees.
Yeah.
And we eventually get down to, you've seen the diary, right? And you know what it is inside,
Yeah.
right? So we don't have to go into the gory details of that. So we get down to the very last thing, and he sort of can't stand up, and I think Bill Oakes was there and helps him up, and someone helps me up. And John turns to me and says, "Whose fucking idea was this?"
I can totally see him saying that.
So you can't help but love the man,
Yeah, no, definitely. Oh my God.
And George was sweet, and Ringo was nice. I've done 4 albums with Ringo, I think.
Yeah.
From Road to Here on, there was 3 more, I believe. Paul was nice. I did some title work from him over here for one of his shows, because he used to work with Hypnosis, and Hypnosis weren't available. So, but they're all very, very interesting and nice people to work with.
And you also, I believe, worked on a Mersey Beat collection as well.
Oh yeah, I sent that to you.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't got the record inside it. It's disappeared. But yeah, that was like way back for the United Artists, and I just thought you might tickle you. If I can find the album itself, because I'm sure it's rare, I'll get it to you.
Oh, that would be amazing. Actually, I just thought of another question. Are you working on anything at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing a book on the national parks of America, which is a beautiful picture book. Some stunning photography by Andy Katz. And I'm doing that, and I'm maybe working on some merchandise for Flipper's roller rink, which was big in LA in the 70s, and sort of popped up again in New York. Whether that'll transpire or not, I don't know. But there's stuff coming at me.
Good.
I'm enjoying myself. That's the main thing. You see, get to my age, you can pick and choose who you want to work with.
That's great. Honestly, I can't wait. Yeah, so
listening to your podcast, I know you're very technically very, very together on the Vox piece last week. At least I heard it last week. So
yeah, I'm very much. I like gear. I like music gear in general.
Right. Okay. Well, you have to get yourself some more. You have to get yourself an 8-track now.
I know.
Big over here. People are collecting 8 tracks and cassettes.
I know. I would love one, honestly. I honestly would love one because I love recording as well. And, just re-listening to things. It just, when you have everything that is like the right gear, both recording and listening is just the best thing. Well, I'm honestly so happy that I got to talk to you, and thank you very, very much, because this was actually so fun.
In Tinseltown, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Well, you will have a nice day. I'll have a nice
have a nice evening.
evening. Okay.
All right, love. Thank you so much. Cheers. Say goodbye.
Oh, bye. Bye, Jenny. Bye. Bye. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Again, a big thank you to John Kosh and also to Jenny Shaw. You can find both of them on social media at Kosh Art Design and Straight Jacket Store. They also have a podcast. Kosh's one is called Art of Rock with Kosh and Friends, and Jenny's podcast is called Metal Priestesses. Again, thank you very much to these two, and thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Pass it to me again. This cover, Jesus, I hit myself in the nose, and many, many more. who designed this cover. This cover. Maybe give it to me.